Today we start working with decimals. We're going to start with adding and subtracting decimals. This should be a review for you again, but just as a reminder, you need to line up place values of the numbers that you're going to add or subtract, as well as make sure that the decimal point of each number are lined up too. So line up place values and decimal points. I'll demonstrate this in just a minute. After that, you would add or subtract as usual. And then finally, bring down the decimal point. You might have a time that is different that you bring down the decimal point, but make sure that you are bringing it straight down into your answer from where it is lined up. Our two practice problems are 8 and 13/100ths. We're going to add that to 2 and 76/100ths. One thing that I recommend if you are unsure how to add or subtract decimals is to quick round this to a whole number. 8 and 13/100ths rounds to 8. 2 and 76/100ths rounds to 3. So your approximate answer should be around 11. So if you were to add these up and you didn't get something near 11, then that would indicate that you did something wrong, perhaps not rounding them. Perhaps not lining up the place values or the decimal points. So when I add this, I get 9, 8. 8 plus 2 is 10, and I bring the decimal point straight down. And you can see that 10 and 89/100ths rounds to 11. So I did this correctly. I'm not saying that you need to do this every single time, or maybe you just need to do this as part of your mental math. Our next problem would be 5 and 508/1000ths. I'm going to subtract 3 and 174/1000ths. 8 minus 4 is 4. I'm going to regroup from this 5 and bring over a 1. 10 minus 7 is 3. 4 minus 1 is 3. 5 minus 3 is 2. I'll bring my decimal point straight down for an answer of 2 and 334/1000ths. So those are just two very basic lining up, adding or subtracting, bringing down the decimal point. We have a situation that we need to look at very carefully, and that is when you may need to add zeros. If needed, in these two top problems, you did not need to add zeros. But look at this very carefully, because this is a time that many students forget to add zeros and it changes their answer. So I'm going to first write these problems horizontally. 1 and 459/1000ths plus 23 and 7/10ths. So notice how this number is in the thousandths place and this number is in the tenths place. So when we write it, we need to be very careful about lining up. So I'm going to write 1 and 459/1000ths, and I'm going to be very careful about writing my 23 so that my 3 in the ones place is under my 1, my decimal point is under my decimal point, and my 7/10ths is under my 4/10ths. Notice how I have two empty place values that now I can go ahead and add the zeros. In this situation, it's not mandatory to add zeros, but it's highly recommended. This is an addition problem. 9, 5, 11, 5, and 2. Bring down your decimal point. If I were to look at this problem ahead of time, this number rounds to about 24. This number rounds to about 1. 24 plus 1 is 25. And here is a sample subtraction problem written horizontally, 21 and 9/10 minus 1 and 605 thousandths. So many of you will be tempted to write this with the second number on top because it has more digits. However, that is not what the problem says. It says 21 and 9/10 minus 1 is in the ones place. Here is my ones place. 1 and 605 thousandths. This makes a lot of people very uncomfortable, but it's okay because these two empty places up here, they need zeros. If you don't put zeros there, then you are unable to regroup, and these two digits cannot just be brought down into the answer. They need to be subtracted from 0, which means that you need to come over here and regroup. So 0 minus 5, I'm going to come over here. I cannot regroup from the 0, so I come over to the 9. This is 8. This becomes 10. I'm regrouping from the 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 0 is 9. 8 minus 6 is 2. 1 minus 1 is 0. And 2 minus 0 is 2. Bring down my decimal point.